ever spend like hours hauling coal and Satisfactory
Oh, yeah.
just to keep your factory going?
Totally.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
But what if I told you there's a better way? Today's deep dive is all about breaking free from those manual resource runs and like achieving glorious automation.
I like the sound of that.
We're taking a deep dive into a recent Apps by Aaron video
Okay.
where he tackles this early game challenge of reliable steel production.
Right.
And trust me, he's got some clever tricks up his sleeve.
I'm sure he does.
Now, you probably know that steel means unlocking a ton of new buildings and upgrades in Satisfactory.
For sure.
So what's the bottleneck? Getting enough coal and iron to those steel constructors without grinding the game to a halt.
Exactly. And what's fascinating about AppsByAaron's approach is that he's thinking long-term from the get-go. He's not just building a steel production line. He's laying the foundation for a truly efficient factory.
Right, and he actually kicks off the video with a confession.
Oh.
I'm sure many of us can relate to.
Oh.
He spent ages detailing his factory setup, only to realize his mic was muted the entire time.
Oh, no.
Classic case of streamer's remorse.
The worst.
But it does highlight a crucial point.
Yeah,
Even seasoned players make mistakes.
totally.
It's all part of the learning process.
It's true.
Totally. Okay, back to the good stuff.
Okay.
So Apps by Aaron needs a steady supply of steel,
Yep.
which means he needs a lot of coal and iron,
Right.
and hauling it by hand just isn't going to cut it.
Nope.
His solution, the sugar cube.
Okay.
Now, for those unfamiliar, the sugar cube is the affectionate nickname for Satisfactory's tractor. But why use trucks when you can just build conveyor belts everywhere?
That's where AppsByAaron's ingenuity shines.
Okay.
See, conveyor belts are great for moving resources short distances.
Right.
But when you're talking about transporting materials across a vast map, trucks become surprisingly efficient.
Really? And I never would have thought trucks would be more efficient than belts.
It all comes down to scale and terrain.
Okay.
Trucks can navigate those pesky cliffs and slopes much easier than a winding conveyor belt system.
Yeah.
Plus, there's something undeniably satisfying about watching a fleet of sugar cubes zipping around your factory floor.
Okay, I can see the appeal there.
Yeah.
So how does Apps by Aaron actually set up this automated truck route?
He starts by establishing a connection between his coal and iron nodes and his main factory. Now, when we talk about nodes, think of those as your resource mines scattered across the map.
Gotcha. So the sugar cubes act as little miners,
Exactly.
collecting resources from those nodes and bringing them back to the factory.
Exactly. It's all about connecting the dots and ensuring a smooth flow of material.
Right.
Of course, no automated system can run without a reliable power source.
True.
And AppsByAaron is using some of those impressive new power towers.
Oh, yeah.
They're enormous.
They're massive.
Yeah.
They look like they could power a small city.
They practically can.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it. As your factory grows, your power needs will increase, and those towers ensure you can keep up with the demand.
Yeah, absolutely. And how does he make sure the resources actually end up in the right places once they get back to the base?
Right.
That seems like a logistical nightmare waiting to happen.
Yeah, that's where those trusty splitters come in.
Okay.
Think of them like the traffic signals of your factory,
Oh, okay.
directing the flow of resources to their designated destinations.
Right.
AppsByAaron uses them masterfully to ensure that the coal and iron get routed to the steel constructors without any bottlenecks.
So it's all about setting up clear pathways and making sure those sugar cubes don't get lost on their way to the steel party.
Yeah, exactly. Now, setting up those routes can be a little tricky.
Right.
AppsByAaron actually recommends recording your initial runs
Okay.
and then refining the paths to optimize efficiency.
So it's like fine-tuning a race car track, squeezing every second out of those sugar cube laps.
Precisely. And here's a pro tip from AppsByAaron.
Okay.
Build those truck stations with 2 lanes of traffic.
2 lanes. Why bother with that?
It's all about future-proofing your factory as your production ramps up.
Oh, wait.
You'll need those extra lanes to handle the increased traffic flow. Trust me, it's better to plan ahead than to have to rebuild your entire transportation system later on.
Yeah, that's some serious foresight. It
Yeah.
sounds like Apps by Aaron has really thought of everything.
Well, almost everything.
Oh.
Remember we were talking about those pesky cliffs?
Oh, right. Even the best laid plans can go awry when you've got rogue sugar cubes driving off into the sunset.
It happens more often than you'd think. Thankfully, there are ways to prevent such vehicular tragedies.
Okay.
AppsByAaron emphasizes the importance of strategic barrier placement. Think of it as guardrails for your automated workforce.
Makes sense. The sugar cubes work hard, but they don't always have the best spatial awareness. Speaking of things that can go wrong, There's a moment in the video where Apps by Aaron experiences a complete power outage.
Oh.
You could just feel the frustration as he meticulously traced those power lines, searching for the culprit.
Oh, yeah.
And to make matters worse, those new power towers have multiple connection points,
Right.
which can make troubleshooting even trickier. But it's in those moments of crisis that we often learn the most valuable lessons.
Absolutely.
I can only imagine the relief when he finally found that loose connection.
Oh, tell me about it.
It reminds me those times I've spent like ages troubleshooting my own factory setups.
Oh, yeah.
It's all part of the fun, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of things that don't always go according to plan,
Okay.
let's talk about blueprints.
Oh,
Apps by Aaron has this hilarious moment where a blueprint doesn't quite work as expected,
yeah.
and it throws a wrench into his whole plan.
Ugh, blueprints.
I know.
They can be a lifesaver one minute and a source of utter frustration the next.
Totally.
It's reassuring to know that even the pros run into these issues.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
all part of the iterative nature of factory building in Satisfactory.
Yeah.
You try something, it doesn't quite work, you learn from it, and you adapt.
Right.
And sometimes that means starting over completely.
Totally.
In fact, Apps by Aaron admits to restarting his factories multiple times to get things just right.
I feel seen. I can't tell you how many times I've scrapped a design and gone back to the drawing board.
Yeah,
It's about the journey, not necessarily the destination, right?
precisely. It's about the satisfaction of building something truly efficient and impressive, even if it takes a few tries or a dozen to get there.
Totally. So to wrap things up, what are the key takeaways from our deep dive into AppsByAaron's automated world?
Well, you've learned how to leverage the power of the sugar cube to create an efficient transportation system for your coal and iron,
Okay.
paving the way for a thriving steel production line.
Right.
You've also gained insights into the strategic use of splitters, the importance of careful route planning and barrier placement, and the value of double-checking your power connections.
And perhaps most importantly, you've learned that even seasoned players make mistakes, encounter frustrating setbacks, and occasionally find themselves restarting their factories from scratch.
It's true.
It's all part of the chaotic beauty that is Satisfactory.
Well said. Remember those massive power towers we discussed?
Yeah.
A hint of things to come? As you progress, you'll need to scale up your coal production significantly to keep those mega factories humming.
And who knows what other transportation challenges await. Maybe we'll see Apps by Aaron tackling trains in his next video.
Now that would be a sight to behold. The factory floor is yours to command.
Yeah.
Embrace the complexity experiment relentlessly and never underestimate the power of a well-placed splitter. Until next time, happy automating.